Oh, ano na?
Hello!
Oh, basta na?
Magandang gabi po sa inyong
Uy,
lahat. Ito
dami na
uh,
palang nagko-comments. Good
Luminous
evening.
Live. Luminous Live with AGP and JP.
GP,
What's up,
GP,
everyone?
GP.
JP, JP. One up.
Good evening kay Ami Perez. Totoo bang si Ami Perez talaga to?
Hello kay Pinay Paparazzi, Paulo De Jesus, Ella
Mm-hmm.
Misha, Mickey,
Mm-hmm.
Nancy Amores, Nicole, Dennis Ronda, Oy, Densyo na naman.
Good
Boss,
hot summer. Oh, it's hot there in Southern California. Wow,
si
from
Vice
Nepal
Thesis,
Good evening sa inyo lahat.
Jan Ikeda.
We have an international audience, my
We
friend.
have an
So
international audience, ladies and gentlemen,
we have to be
in California.
yep. And oh, this is the best. Watching from my bed. Pablito.
Awesome.
Awesome. Watching. Yeah.
Correct, correct,
Okay.
correct.
So,
Anong gusto mo pag-usapan ngayon sa JP?
tanungin kaya natin si ano. Tingnan natin kung para maniwala kayong gaano kami ka spontaneous. The first one who uh, writes a nice topic there in the comments, we will use your topic.
Patay
Oh,
tayo dito.
yeah, yeah. Whatever you write there. Sige.
Delikado to si
Wag lang yung
Lord.
bastos ha. O yung wag na yung mga shoutout if whoever's there. Write down the topic. Watching from my bed. I'm impressed. Write down the topic wherever.
Ami Perez. Si John Ray
Mayong gabi,
Castillo.
Catherine Aligado.
Sa
Mayong gabi
Naka.
sa inyo. Oh,
Mona
sige,
Lisa.
where? Ano po masasabi
Or
nyo sa
Lisa.
paggamit ng official seal of the president? Medyo kalat na po sa social media yan. Official seal of the president. O yan, the propriety of using for personal use the seal of the president. That's a legal question, tama ba, attorney? Or
Hindi ko alam yung
legal ba yan?
Bahala ka dyan.
There is a question there about the use of the official seal of the president
Teka,
in
tinitingnan
social
ko pa.
media.
Tinitingnan ko pa.
Teka, just a little bit of whoever is
Oh, anong background? What's going on? Who is
what's
using
going
it?
on? Who
How
is
it
and
is
where?
being used? Oh.
Who is using it and where? Because bakit wait lang ha. I'll go back to that. Who was that? Mark Jason. Who is using it and where? Sa social media daw. I'll
Yeah.
start this.
How is it being used?
Maka ginagamit sa yung logo ng mga tao. Pwede ba yan?
There is a felony in the revised penal code
Hmm.
about the using of the presidential seal.
And the seal of the Republic of the Philippines in an
Uh,
unauthorized manner. Tama ba?
hmm.
Especially for unlawful purposes. So, uh, that's a legal there's a legal prohibition there, and maybe kung walang purpose, so
It is a felony. It's a crime.
hindi na namin kailangan i-define because it's in the law. Sino pa? Anong masasabi niyo kay, saan ba yun? Si Sarah. Bakit po kaya hindi pinalitan ng SMNI ang appointment ni BBM para sa DFA Secretary?
DFA.
Oh, sino ba
Nabalita
naman?
naman.
Hindi, sa SMNI. Vic, if I maybe wala naman anything sinister there. Yung mga TV kasi na productions, meron yun silang oras ng paghanda ng mga topics, yung editorial decisions, no? And naka-schedule yan para yung mga placement ng ads, hindi kasi yan kasing spontaneous ng radio na pwede mo lang
Okay. Ang
ibigkas
bago
kasi
yata,
hmm,
ang bago yata
who?
is this
Who
new,
is
si
our new?
Almendras.
Sino
Si
Almendras?
Jose
Big?
Rene de Almendras. Is
Jose
that correct?
Almendras.
Is that now? Oh, I think
Huh?
so. That's the latest.
Oh.
Okay.
Wait. Okay.
Oh, Kami I served with the Department of Energy almost 3 years.
Ito. Pastrana daw, Pastrana.
Pastrana, yung yun yung sa ano. Yun yung sa PPA, Philippine Ports Authority.
Oh, so
And what about it?
you wanna talk about the Strana?
Oh, there is nothing, I don't know anything about him. Ang alam ko lang is ano yung nandun sa dyaryo that he owes some money. I mean, his company owes money to the Philippine Ports Authority. And
Okay.
now he is being appointed there.
Is there an appointment
Not
out?
yet. He is being considered or no
Well,
suggested,
oh
recommended.
well,
Hindi pa
wala namang.
hindi pa siya na-appoint.
Okay. So maybe with the noise that you're making, whoever is making it, and whatever is the problem with this person,
Premature.
kasi, hindi, sa akin lang sino bang gumawa ng issue against this person? Do you know this person? Or do we have anything against this person?
Well, I don't have anything against him except that he owes the government some money.
Maybe we all owe
As
the government some money.
hindi actually siya. Yung company niya na siya yung, I think,
Does that
executive.
make you disqualified
Oh, no, of course
to
not.
hold a public position?
No, definitely
Okay.
not. But it,
Okay.
sends a bad taste to your, di ba?
Why?
Para sa akin naman kasi, wala namang ano dyan, walang malis naman yan. And second, hindi pa siya ina-appoint. It is
Kaya nga,
his job.
this is one way of lobbying. We talked about lobbying kanina sa Tambayan. And yung isang nagtanong kanina about the airport, Bulacan, hindi na namin itatakil yan. Hanapin yung live
Oo,
namin
yung
ni
show kanina.
Attorney Ahmed sa DWIZ na site. Kasi hindi pala natin yun na-share
Tambayan.
sa mga tambayan sa
Tambayan na
DWIZ
listing.
kanina. We discussed that, no? And we also discussed yung lobbying, no? So, one form of lobbying is
Negative
stopping
lobby.
stopping the executive from doing an action by by poisoning the mind of the people about certain acts
Which abuse.
which are actually not an issue because okay, sabihin na natin na yung si Pastrana ay merong kasalanan sa or meron siyang utang sa gobyerno. Ay, ang utang ba na yan ay hindi nababayaran? Yung utang ba, ano status niyan? Is it a crime? Is there a crime committed? Because if he is convicted of a crime, then hindi siya pwedeng i-appoint. He will not even be considered. But to stop the president from doing something, it can also be used by people who have interest into that position or who are afraid that if this person gets into that position, it will affect my business interest. So sometimes they use media people to spread truthful allegations, which are not crimes, and then just put that bad taste into Attorney Ahmed's mouth.
Exactly.
Oh,
Well, okay. Napansin ko,
I'm not
I
defending him. I do not know him.
I don't know him either. At saka sa akin naman, how are we supposed to act in relation to that kind of things, 'di ba?
Hmm.
Na hindi pa siya ina-appoint, sinasuggest lang siya at saka and then or nire-recommend, right? Tapos merong isang tao na maglabas ng information about this guy
Mhm.
which is also true. Totoo naman din. So no problem. Uh, for example, itong tao na to na nagsiwalat niyan is a journalist, for example. Na
Hmm.
ang hangat niya lang is to uncover the truth about everyone who will be appointed in government, which is a
So,
fair that is our obligation as citizens. Di
yes,
ba? We
yes.
are obliged to do that. Hmm.
Okay.
So, yung
But,
ginagawa niya, walang malis. It is just really a civic duty. Di ba? Okay, now,
oh,
how are we supposed to act in relation to that? Tayo yung nanonood, nakikinig, nakikita natin itong mga to. How do you think we should react to this? That is
okay.
now.
Una, I'm just trying to gamitin natin yung mind mapping na pinag-usapan natin last night.
Yes, yes, yes.
Is this a real issue? Yun yung unang question. Is this a real issue? Is this a justiciable issue? tatanungin sasabihin ng Supreme Court sa'yo, di ba? Sabihin
Mm.
dito, unang isyung pinupukol, may conflict of interest. Paano nagiging conflict of interest yan? Wala akong alam except for certain positions na hindi mo pwedeng i-appoint ang isang tao to a certain position because of his uh, past profession or whatever. Kasi let's say for example, yung mga lawyers,
Divest. Nag-divest
mga
sila sila.
lawyers who become judges will have a conflict of interest because they used to have cases in that court. Don't you think? And actually, the conflict of interest na mga rules is mostly on after you leave your office. May prohibition ka na mag uh,
Non-disclosed.
mag-conduct. Oh, no, no, no. Mag-engage into certain activities na magagamit mo yung former position mo sa gobyerno. Pero yung former position mo sa private sector, pinili ka nga for your expertise in that and because of the need for you to leave your private practice kasi prohibited yon, ikaw pa ang nagsasacrifice.
Mm.
Okay, so yung conflict of interest, I doubt if there is a rule specifically for this position that prevents or prohibits the appointment of anyone in the qualifications that has some former dealings with that office. Kasi
Mm.
yung ports authority, yung operations yan, you need to know something. Uy, may gabi brother. Joseph
Siyempre.
Nandi Jr. Si
Uy!
si Kernel.
Brother! Yawa!
Si Kernel.
Ano mo din si
So
Joseph yan?
okay, again, I do not know that Pastrana. I do not know him. So I do not have any interest in his case. So I leave that to the president because
I read.
the president is actually making that decision for you. So spoiling everyone's expectations, I see something sinister there.
Nasaan na si Joseph? Nandun si Joseph mo.
Ando no, ito.
Pwede mo
Hindi
siya,
kasi ako,
can
hindi,
you put it on?
hindi ako nakakagawa nung nagagawa mo.
Where are you? Are you on, ano? Are you on the window of
I'm
StreamYard?
in the comment section and
StreamYard.
maybe a little bit up mga 15% sa height ng ating
Magsalita ka, Joseph. Tanong si Joseph. Pag-istorya ba? Aron ikaw
ayun
may
oh,
malitas ba?
si
Istorya ka?
Eduardo. Okay, hindi. Si Joseph hindi nanonood sa atin. Nasa comment
Ay,
section.
oh, I can see him.
Oh, yun. Mas maganda yung view
Magsalita ka
mo.
si Joseph.
Okay, did it
Magsalita ka, Joseph.
answer no si Maayong Gabi, brother? Okay.
Baka umalis siya. Okay, si Judy. Hi, Judy. Let's put her on. Nag-hi siya kay paparazzi. Si Bryn Hilder, hello. Present po, Sir JP. Alright. Si Janet Ikeda. Hello, hello. Si Emily G. Si Red. Red is in France. She's my friend from UP. Hopper the Explorer, matalino ka. Sabi ni Rocky, Papi, JP, ang tinutukoy mo, si JP, Papa JP. Si JM. What up? What is up, bro?
Hmm.
Si Army. Sos!
Okay. So yun na. But unless there is really a case against him, all right, or unless that 128 million is already a case decided against him and he refuses to pay. But if he is in time sa mga payments ng kanyang those liabilities to government for your company's availment of government services, 128 million is nothing actually for large corporations like PLDT. How much do they pay in supervision and regulatory fees? So every year, nag-accumulate yung mga payables na yan and it's normal. So, yan. Kung pinili siya ng presidente para sa akin, then prove that he's not qualified.
Alright, okay. But I do feel the, I do feel the, yung parang hesitancy or agam-agam, okay?
Oh,
As to JP, kilala mo to?
sino?
Ito, yan, yung
Michael?
nakapost.
Uy! Pare koy! Pare
Kamusta pa
koy!
rin? Kamusta pa rin?
The brother from another mother.
Ayan. Okay, alam ko yung agam-agam dyan kasi kung may utang ka nga naman dyan, okay, well, hindi naman talaga siya personally may utang. Yung kanyang company, kasi yung Supercat yata yun or something like that,
Uh-huh.
company that operates a waterborne vehicle or something, na na syempre may dealings with the Philippine Ports Authority every time they dock, di ba? I don't know ano yung sistema dyan, kung may binabayaran sila dyan na assessment for
Mm,
using the dock,
mm,
di ba? Obviously.
mm.
At binigyan siguro siya ng fast cut, sorry, fast cut.
Yeah.
Ah, sabi ni sabi ni L.
Yeah, it may be
Ah,
kasi a contended issue. No?
mm,
It may be a contended issue.
okay.
Si Tix ba yung twitches mo? Hindi ko alam.
Sabi ni sabi ni
Anyway,
Medyo sabi ni Medyo first,
well, okay,
classmate na ako
ganito.
sa malicious theft. Si ano ba to? Si Pastrana pa rin ba to? Itong may inaakusang malicious
Hindi,
theft.
ganito kasi, let me just give some examples. When I was still actively managing a radio station in a local place, ang galing
Mm,
ng mga ano niyan, mga manipulators ng mga local officials na mag-feed ng information na hindi mo alam na may tatamaan at kung ano ang real interest behind that expose na ni-reveal sa'yo. So,
okay.
yeah, like Mark Villar, he was appointed, Mark Villar, di ba yung tatay niya is a question for the C5 extension issue? And then you make the son the DPWH secretary? Hindi rin ba
Yes,
issue yan?
yeah, ganun na
Oh.
nangyari.
O like Brother Armin, he was good and a clean DepEd secretary during the time of Pinoy. And he used to be regulated by the Department of Education as the president of LaSalle. To manage some aspects of government that requires knowledge about the industry, it would be hard to find someone from outside to know how to deal with those questions that are
Read that,
pertinent.
read that, read that.
Mm.
Reportedly, with 132 million with DOTR representing unremitted terminal fees from 2013 to I forgot.
Mm.
Doesn't that say something? Yes, it says
Yes, it
something. You
says.
forgot something from 2013 to you forgot. Okay, when we make these things, these allegations, we we really should, if we want to be taken seriously about our objections against this person, we have to be fair. If we have criticism against him, we have to
Uh,
be clear about the criticism. Kung merong allegation na may malicious theft siya, then probably take it to court. Kung wala pang kaso na yan, edi it's probably not serious and it's probably not true. Delikado kasi na magsabi-sabi tayo ng ganyan. Kaming dalawa dito ni JP magdi-discuss ng ganyan when it is not really true. It just came from one of the comments. We
mm,
have to be careful about these things because although we have the freedom of speech and expression and all that publication, we do not have the right to say just anything we want that will destroy another person's reputation. We
mm,
have to take care of each other's reputation even if we hate each other.
mm,
Okay? Uh, because hating each other is fine so long as there is no law that says hating him that way is wrong. But when there is a law that says, all right, stop right there, because when you do that, that kind of hate is illegal.
or
All right?
useless, for example, no? Useless. You are wasting your effort or your BP. Papainom ka ng ano ba yung sartan for no reason Because
Mm.
as I said kanina, having an issue with payable sa gobyerno na maaari kasing legally kino-question niya yan eh. Since 2013, we do not know the
Yes.
status.
Not only
Kasi if,
that, baka naman kasi may credit siya.
or kaya nga,
Di ba?
it may be an unresolved thing. And because he was being offered a position where he thinks he could help, then
Yeah,
para
yeah.
ma-clarify at walang issue, so imbis na kino-question niya pa, bayaran ko na lang. Isn't
Exactly.
that a very sane and logical situation? I do
Right.
not know. Yeah. So
Hello,
let's
Dixie.
move on to another topic. I'm planning to go back home this July. Is there any chance po na makita si Attorney Trixie? Nako, kami rin hindi na namin alam
Natutulog na
kung may
siya kanina
chance.
pa. Pagod na pagod daw
Hindi
siya.
na namin alam
Kasi
kung may chance din kami makita namin siya.
ang
Hindi
ano, ang dami
kaya.
daw kasi niyang ginagawa kanina na marami tulog na siya.
Ba't ang liit nung aking... Ay, adjust ko lang yung ano ha, kasi I cannot read. I need to adjust the size of this.
Control scroll up. Gawin mo. Lalaki yan. Shout
Yeah,
out, Michelangelo
yeah.
Yuzon. Ganun. Ganun na, ganun ka na, brother ha.
I cannot read the text here.
Why?
So, sige, ikaw muna, attorney. Magsalita.
Control tapos
Ayusin ko lang.
scroll up. Gawin mo. Okay. Okay. How do we deal with this and how do we carry ourselves online about these things? Si Attorney Trixie ay natutulog na because she was so tired. Ang dami daw niyang meetings kanina at saka yung kanyang briefing, yung kanyang press briefing. So, pagod na siya kanina pa lang alas 7 yun, nakita ko. Sabi niya
Yung...
matutulog na lang. So, yun. Hindi niyo ba siya nakita kanina? Hindi niyo ba siya
Okay.
nakita
This
kanina?
is better now. This is better. Sige,
Anong sinasabi?
kaya ako nakakaganyan-ganyan eh kasi hindi ko nababasa yung mga words na nandito sa harapan ko. Okay. Okay. So now, we've given you a chance to shoot your topics to us. Attorney Ahmed.
Oh, well, my point is, sinabi nila doon na meron na raw siyang kaso with the DOTR. Yeah, if it is a criminal case, then let's wait until the court finds him guilty or not guilty. Until then, uh, the purpose of that case will be to ascertain the reality of the facts that are alleged by parties. Pagka hindi pa yan na-adjudicate ng korte or ng DOTR or whatever, hindi pa natin alam kung sinong may kasalanan dyan o kung sinong may masamang ginagawa dyan. So
Okay.
let's give everyone the benefit of the doubt.
Pero
We can't be overly protective of what the president just because may konting nangyayari diyan na papasaringan niya na kaagad si Attorney Vic. Let's
uh,
allow them to work out these things na hindi natin pinangungunahan.
okay, ganito. Not all clean people who come into government are actually clean. Okay? And not all dirty people who come to government will do the criminal things that you are afraid of him
Mm,
to do.
mm,
Kasi alam na niya na alam yun na criminal siya eh, or alam mo yun, masama siyang tao, kaya alam din nung nag-appoint niya, pero meron siyang kakaibang galing. Kaya mas obvious kung gagawa pa siya ng katarantaduhan. Pero mag-ingat kayo sa mga sobrang malinis ang katauhan. Kagaya ng isang vice president ng isang kumpanya na naging isang secretary.
mm.
Na
So
nung
yeah.
naging secretary,
Okay, walang pumapansin, walang pumipigil, walang pumupuna sa kanya hanggang ngayon nandiyan pa
wala.
rin.
Hanggang sa dulo na lang ng terminolohiya ng termino
Terminology.
ni dulo na lang ng term ni Mr. President Attorney Duterte. Attorney na lang siya ngayon, attorney, no? Hindi na siya
Attorney na lang
President
siya.
Duterte. Attorney Duterte. Doon lang natin
Attorney na lang.
napansin. Sayang, di ba? So, sinlaki sana yung
Yes.
Yeah,
Marami nagsasabi dito na marami daw na-impress sa press briefing ni Attorney Trixie. Well,
of
thank you.
course.
I will tell her. I will tell her that.
Of course. What do you expect?
Oh,
That's
well, I
why.
didn't have any expectation kasi kahit siya kinakabahan eh. She was anxious and and really scared. Pero I told her, no, this is nothing new. We've already done this with the NCCA and all that. So magaling marunong siya niyan. So but hindi natin mapipigilan yung kaba ng tao because that is normal. Kung hindi ka na kinakabahan when you're about to do something,
Wala na. That's
wala nang
when you
meaning to.
become, that's when
Wala,
you become complacent.
mm, hindi ka na excited sa buhay mo. So wala na. Para sa iyo wala nang meaning 'yan.
Okay, ito yung mahalagang tanong. Sino na po ang magiging DOH secretary natin? Yeah, tama yun.
Well, the last time I heard the president talk about that, I think it was uh, 2 days before the inauguration, or
Uh-huh.
about 4 or 5 days. Sabi niya na the short list is getting shorter.
Yeah, so you can imagine how difficult the selection process for those critical positions remain to be, no? Especially dyan sa DOH. Pero, tingnan mo naman yung ating mga binotong senador, wala pa rin tayong nahanap na. Maski isa man lang doktor para maging senador this time, o wala bang tumakbo?
Na doktor.
Doktor sa Senado. Oh,
Meron
ba't natin
tumakbo siya,
hinalal
di
si
ba?
hmm?
Di ba tumakbo si Doc Willie, I think?
Vice President
But
kasi
Ira
tinakbuhan
as
niya
vice
eh.
president.
Oh,
Oo.
yeah.
I don't know anymore kung meron nga sa Senate. Pero sigurado ako walang nanalo.
By the way, I will just state again yung uh, very fleeting at inconsequential na interview na napakinggan ko kay Janet Garin, no? At the
Mm,
start of this pandemic, she made a comment in one of the interviews. She was a former health secretary.
mm.
Na there are some situations where it is sometimes better to have a non-doctor as our health secretary.
That's right because yung DOH secretary na trabaho,
Mm.
it's not it's a non-medical
It's an
job.
administrative thing, task,
It is
right?
an administrative job. Oh, totoo yan.
Oo. And Janet Garin, being a former health secretary, was citing examples of of certain countries na hindi required or hindi tradisyon na magiging na ang health secretary must be a doctor. Hindi pa ito naka-share automatically sa isang dangkal, attorney?
Ang alin? Nakashare.
Itong, ba't wala?
Yeah.
Hindi ko nakikita.
Nandun yan sa taas, oh. Tingnan mo.
Hindi ko nakikita, oh.
Okay, nandyan yan, oh. Tingnan mo, ha. Screen cap, ano ba
Okay.
ipapakita sa'yo.
Anyway,
It's there.
okay. If it's there, so I'll trust you on that. By the way, so, etong panahon na to ng first 100 days ng isang presidente, yun yung mahalaga dyan. So,
Mm.
the first 100 days of a president is usually a period of, y- kumbaga sa kasal ay, ang tawag dyan, honeymoon
Honeymoon
stage.
stage. Mm.
The media gets to know, wala pa masyadong atake dapat dyan. Pero yung atake na nangyari on day one, or even the first, day one ba yun? Yung about this Pastrana case.
Yeah.
Uh,
I don't think it's an attack on the president. I don't
no,
think so.
not an attack on the president, but on the processes that he is about to engage, like appointing people into his cabinet, uh, putting people into positions, no? Those things are not expected in the first 100 days. Uh, medyo
Nandito
mas,
Nandito
andyan,
nakasulat,
andyan.
oh, sa ano, I'm on isang dangkal page. May lumalabas na this video is live now. Watch live, ganyan.
All right,
Yeah.
all right. Thank you. So, as I was saying, usually more of ang treatment ng media, if you compare it in the US, no, ang treatment ng media dyan is more of kinikilatas nila yung qualifications ng mga appointees, but hindi nila kino-question yung appointment. Okay? Magkaiba yun. Malayong malayo yung dalawa. Uh, one is about the issue, qualification, position, and the other is ad hominem.
At home.
That is an example of argumentum ad hominem. Uh, kasi it's very normal for a businessman to have questions on Sir JP. Kaya siguro sinasabi ni hindi siya hindi. She was saying, I think if I remember correctly that interview, this was at the beginning of the pandemic. She was saying na even if I'm myself, I'm there, parang hindi ko rin kakayanin yung problema na maghahanap ka ng mga medical supplies. Okay? And alam mo yun, sinasabi na hindi kasi namin expertise yan as doctors. Yung maging hospital administrator. Okay? So, yun. Ang first 100 days is about the formation of government. And this, ito, yung mga pinipiling tao, huwag nyo naman isipin hindi in-screen yan. Siyempre, in-screen yan. At kung ano man yung mga issue, alam niya na nag-appoint. So,
Isipin nyo na kung ano man ang gawin ng mga appointed secretaries, department secretaries na yan, is the responsibility of the president. So hindi madali, hindi basta-bastang ginagawa lang yan.
this is
Pinag-iisipan
true.
niya.
This is true. Tatay Strauss, sinasabi niya, hindi nila binigyan ng honeymoon period si Rodrigo Duterte.
Yes. Oo,
Yes,
wala.
that's very true.
Kahit si BBM yun, hindi nila binibigyan.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. Na parang
Yeah.
mainstream media will try to abuse your sense of Philippinism, morality, by throwing you issues and ano para magalit.
Yeah.
So be careful
Okay.
with what issues are.
Napapansin nyo yung mga atake ng opposition, yung mga dilaw, mga pinks. Nakita nyo yung mga atake nila, parang napakaliliit na lang eh. Parang tipong pagka sinabi mong, oh may umatake na naman tapos pag tinanong ko, saan mo nakita yan? Sa social media, social media lang yan. Naging wala na tuloy yung meaning, yung mga bagay na nangyayari dito sa social media because they just completely diluted it. Parang tipong na oversaturate ng katarantaduhan na sinasabi nila such that even the smallest things they criticize na parang nadadamay na lahat ng tao sa social media when in fact there are many people on social media that have worthwhile comments, there are worthwhile opinions about government. Pero ang ginagawa kasi nitong mga itong opposition na walang silbi, na walang objective, walang purpose, is just to oppose the government in everything. So pag nakita nilang gusto ni Duterte na lagyan ng airport sa Bulacan, nag-oppose sila. Ngayon naman na parang tipong ang intindi nila ay finito ng bagong presidente yung airport, nagalit naman sila dahil bakit mo binibito ko yan? And then we told them na hindi naman yung airport yung nabito dyan, yung economic zone. Tahimik
Okay.
muna sila. Iisip muna sila ngayong gabi.
Mm-mm. Ang daming issue na yan dati, di ba? Yung Dolomite, mga ganon.
Oo, na lahat na lang ng bagay na ino-oppose nila.
EJK, for example. Ha?
Hmm.
We're doing it now. I do not know. Okay. So, ganito yan. As I was saying last night, attorney, na the people who were before us 100 years ago, and I'm talking about exactly 100 to 120 years ago, there is a lot of evidence from recordings of speeches, recordings of their writings, mostly in their dealings with other world leaders na kikita nyo yung kanilang planning for the next 100 years was so descriptive of what we have now. Okay? Now, governance, our society is a series of experiments. Okay? And in all these experiments, there are institutions responsible for their formation. So, wag niyo tong kalimutan na there was a time when at the helm of the institutions outside government na nag-impluwensya was the Catholic Church or other churches. So maybe in Muslim countries it is the imams who also help And in India, it will be some Buddhist monks influencing ano. Sabay-sabay yon. So religions ang nasa gitna dictating government policy. Sa dulo nun, nung inaatake na yung kanilang influence over society, over government, what did they come up with? They come up with laws or rules against heresy, and they come out lashing against people who are questioning their teachings or their authority. Didn't you see that? How about now? Who is responsible for the shaping of our society as we know now? Educators and the press. Now that they are at the end of their existence, that's why they're lashing out against people who are questioning their authority. It's the same issue you had against the church before. That's what they're doing now. Yung kanilang anti-historical revisionism. Oh, really? Academe? Your historical revisionism BS is like heresy. The claim that there is such a thing as called heresy, and you can be burned at the stake. Mag ano kayo, bantayan nyo to because this is going to be the trend. Imagine niyo na simbahan noon kung gaano sila kakumapit sa institusyon na hawak nila. Yan yung media ngayon, yan yung academe ngayon. They're soon going to be obsolete.
Yeah,
And why?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And why am I saying this, my gali?
Bakit nga? Bakit mo nasasabi yan, sir?
Well, I came across policy document from the OECD. The
What is that?
OECD is the ano to para iba tong I don't know if it's an English ano. Basta it's an economic policy
Sa forum.
OECD, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Okay, it's a multilateral thing. It's para tong ano, NEDA ng mundo. Okay, kung may
Mm.
NEDA tayo, ito yung NEDA ng mundo. They came out with a policy paper about that thing we talked about the future of communications in government, and they were sounding like so much in a hurry, and it rings the bell for media to be made obsolete, or alam mo yun, no longer at the centerpiece of communications, but calls for governments to be at the center of communications, but dapat fair communications.
Okay?
Yeah.
Before I comment on that, tingnan natin tong tanong ni Mark Jason. I don't know, what's this? Attorney, what's your stand about sa Chacha bill filed to extend the term of president? Is it good or mas maganda na parliament na lang? You cannot compare the extension of the term of the president and parliament, because those are two entirely different issues. Hindi mo yan sila pwedeng ikumpara kung alin ang mas mabuti, alin ang mas masama, because they don't even intersect anywhere. All that they have in common is that they involve our constitution and our government. But as to whether or not the length of the term of the president has anything to do with Congress, with two houses, or one house with kasi sa parliament wala nang presidente. How do we compare that? That's an entirely different way of working, doing things. Ang parliament, ang presidential iba rin. Yung Chacha bill kasi when it is it is proposed, the entire process of a constitutional change will be done, and it is there where the debate happens, and the final arbiter of that is us, we, the sovereign, when we vote for it in the either the plebiscite or the referendum. Okay, when we choose what provisions in the constitution we want to appear there for good. Well, not for good, for our purposes. So my opinion is that any kind of system for me doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Hindi pa nga tayo na nagmamature dito sa ating presidential representative Republican government. Lipat na naman tayo doon and it's back to square zero or square one. Para sa akin, okay, no problem. No problem. Everybody in the country wants to go to parliament. Let's go. Let's go. Wala
Do
akong
we even understand?
ha?
Do we even understand that system?
Ako, I do. I do completely understand those
No, as a,
systems, but everybody else.
tayo as a
No,
country.
no. Ako, I'm sure. Well, I don't like to assume that no, tayo lang dalawa ang nakakaalam niyan. I think that many people know about that. Pero para sa akin, if, for example, all things being equal, ceteris paribus, okay?
Uh,
We all of us knew which one is a witch and which one is not a witch. Eh, para sa akin, whatever para sa akin, parliament or presidential, it doesn't matter.
wait. Ito si Flor Ariza. Nababasa mo ba to? Si Clarita Carlos daw ay bibili ng Ferrari. Napanood nyo ba yung Ozark? Yung Ozark, yung therapist ni nila na bumili ng kotse ano, tapos hinulog na pinatay. Ano, yun lang yung napipicture ko, di ba? Tanda-tanda
Ah,
ko sa...
ano ba hinulog? Therapist ba yun? No? Parang kabit yata ng asawa niya yun eh.
No, yung therapist na binayaran nila ng ano kasi nag-away silang dalawa sa harap ng therapist, narinig ng therapist na they're into money laundering for drug lords. So to
Binayaran
buy the
talaga.
silence, binigyan niya ng ano, sinabihan niya, don't buy anything of kumbaga, ostentatious. Dumating naka ano, ano ba yung coach niya? Naka-sports car na ano,
Na-cover.
pinatay. Oh,
Pinatay.
pinatay. Okay, so anyway, I find that funny actually, you know, that Clarita Carlos would be interested in a Ferrari. No, pero hindi siya, okay. So, Dennis Ronda. Oh, kilala mo, si Dennis Ronda, sino yung therapist na yun?
Ayan, nanood kasi yan eh. Nagsimula
Oh,
kami
nanood to
manood.
ng ano eh, nanood to ng Ozark. If you haven't watched Ozark,
Na-addict na siya doon eh.
it's a nice way to bide your useless time.
Tama,
Kahit
tama
ano
yung
naman
sinabi mo.
pong klaseng gobyerno meron
Yeah,
tayo kung di magtutulungan. Okay. Now I want to react on that. In fact, I want to react on what you said. Whatever form of government, we will probably be able to survive that. History repeats itself. So look back. So kung sinasabi ko 100 years before, another 100 years before, and look at the history of Spain, our own colonizer, when they experimented with parliamentary and moving from
yeah.
parliamentary to the king and the king to
Yes.
the parliamentary, and in a
Tell us
matter of
about that.
100 years, they had to change their constitution 7 times, and many revolutions in between, and killings and dying and everything, and to that point that napabayaan nila ang isang teritoryong tinatawag na Pilipinas.
Hmm.
Okay?
Yan ang nangyari.
But you are not taught that, and that is what I am looking into now, dahil it seems like this part of our own history has been hidden from us because it explains a lot about our revolution that does not fit the narrative na tayo ay galit sa mga pari, na tayo ay inabuso ng mga Kastila. So all of those things will not fit with the history that actually happened in Spain when it shifted from parliamentary back and forth
Sige nga,
to
kwentuhan mo nga ako niyan. Anong nangyari dyan?
it's a 100 year story, but you will notice even that thing we were talking about ng Gumburza,
Hmm.
ha?
Kahit
Nasabi,
tayo
okay,
nakita.
okay. I dare all of you. Sinasabi nila that the impetus or the Ano ba yan? The seed of revolution was planted by the Spaniards, ano ba yan? Brutality. Na?
Okay.
When they killed the three priests, Gomez, Burgos, and Zamora.
Hmm.
Right? You know
Hmm.
this. Even they even teach Rizal in this way. Some even say that Rizal was there when they were executed. Okay, fine. But my dare to you is search and find anything written about the Gumburja. It always begins on the day of their death.
Oo nga, that's right, that's right.
Okay? It
But
always
the bigger
begins.
story of that, the bigger
Hmm?
story involving that
Hmm.
incident was the Cavite Mutiny.
The
The
Cavite
Cavite
Mutiny.
Mutiny, di ba?
Mm-hmm.
Yung
Yeah.
muntik na silang manalo, they implemented a really good plan na
Okay.
biglang na-realize na lang ng mga Espanyol na they were ousted of the fort, di ba?
Oh,
Na
yes.
talagang na-over ng mga taga Cavite yung
And
fort.
what do you think the three priests have to do about that?
Nothing. Fall guy yun sila dun eh, sa tingin ko.
Huh?
Fall guy sila dun, fall guy. Wala
Okay.
silang kinalaman dun.
Okay, so kung wala silang kinalaman doon, they were three innocent priests. They were now abducted by the state. Ginarote sa luneta. Then how did they die for the country? What makes them a hero? Unless they were
Kaninong
really the ones
narrative
who
yan?
were. Okay, sabi, ha, in one of those things that I read online about glorifying this, walang awang ginarote, nang walang kasalanan, namatay para sa bayan. Teka, paano ka namatay para sa bayan? Kung wala ka naman palang ginawa para sa bayan. So kung wala kang ginawa, there's nothing worthwhile about your
Heroic
death.
about you.
Oh, there's nothing worth. You were just a murder victim, di ba?
Pita po ito, pita, pita.
Okay, okay. Why is this parang mali? Because ang issue na totoong pinukol sa kanila was the secularist movement. Okay? At ang sabi nila, ang pinaglalaban daw ng Gumbursa ay yung mapasa kamay sa mga Pinoy ng kaparian yung pamumuno ng simbahan. Okay, that may be true. But was
Hmm.
that their concern? Was their concern Philippinization? Okay, look at the terms. Secularization.
Yeah.
Secularization means the 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 management of dioceses under the priests who are not ordained under religious orders. Si Attorney Ahmed, sabi niya sa kanyang ay nag-seminaryo sa para sa isang religious order.
Yeah.
Okay?
Spaniards din
Now,
sila, Spaniards.
okay. Was that a Filipino issue?
Hmm? Was it,
O was that a Filipino issue? Ang sabi
hindi.
sa atin sa kasaysayan, yan daw ay panaghoy ng mga Pilipino na hindi
Wala pa namang
pinapayag.
Pilipino dun.
No, yung mga Pilipinong pare daw.
Mga Pilipino pa rin.
Oh, para silang
Mga
nakaisip ng
Indio, Indio.
oh no, they were already priests. Okay? Para silang nakaisip ng
Yeah.
bagong
Pero hindi
sistema.
sila Pilipino.
No, the
Hindi sila
Filipino
Pilipino.
priests. The
Kaya nga,
Filipino priests.
the
Okay?
Indio priests.
Oh yeah, the Indio priests, the native priests, and children of the mestizos and mestizas na naging pare. So sabi nila, ang pinaglaban daw nung Gumbursa ay yung makamit ang kasarinlan mula sa pagmamalabis ng mga praile. Do you know
Hmm.
that even greater and earlier than our issue about these prailes was that uh, constitution in 1812 in Spain, which was so controversial because it removed the friars' influence over the state. So
Hmm.
as early as 1812, this issue was long fought in Spain, not here.
Okay?
Okay?
Dito sa
Now,
Pilipinas.
specifically at the time when they were killed, itong Gumburza.
Hmm.
was the period when, yan yung period na nagko-coincide with the last form of their constitution na mas lalo na talagang binigay ang religious freedom. Hindi na Catholic Church ang sinasabi ng Constitution of Spain as the only authorized religion.
Okay.
And secularization was, kumbaga, made part of law in 1869. And when were they killed? 1871. So what was the issue? They were not fighting for a Filipino cause. They were fighting for an issue that is so uh,
Catch.
well, kumbaga, so well fought in Spain and in the rest of the world. Okay? So,
Hindi
tingnan
tayo,
natin.
dito yun nag-originate yung gulo na yun.
No. No.
Sumakay lang tayo. O hindi man
Hindi.
lang tayo sumakay.
We were part of that thing.
Yung sumula ha, are we?
Because we were part of Spain.
Exactly, but did it originate here? Ibig sabihin, because the
No,
way
it
it
did
was,
not originate here.
oh, the way
It
it
did
was
not
written,
originate here.
our history, the way it is written and the way it was taught to us,
Yes.
parang dito yung nagsimula and it's the original issue that arose out
In
of
fact,
the
no.
Philippine Islands.
In fact, no. And it's very easy to coincide. Okay, look. Okay. Our listeners, this is my challenge to you. Tingnan niyo yung major dates ng Spanish history from 1800 to 1898. And you will see that majority of our historical events also na sinasabi ng ating mga historians were Filipino uprisings and gano'n, are probably effects of the turmoil that was only happening in Spain at that time.
Or Mexico. Diba
Who
Mexico was
okay,
also
okay,
happening.
ito. Who declared Gumburza as heroes? The greatest of all of them, and one of the earlier is Emilio Jacinto. And if you will read what he wrote about the Gumburza, you will see what the fuck, this is propaganda.
What was it? Why is it
Ah,
propaganda?
sobrang pinuri niya at alam mo yun parang because at that time wala naman tayong way of counter-checking ano talagang dahilan ng kanilang pagkamatay, tama?
Yeah. Sina Emilio Jacinto, he was the youngest general, di ba? He was a young general.
Yes. But
Yeah.
they were also cognizant of the power of information and knowledge and fake news and propaganda.
Right, right.
They were not stupid. They were schooled people, and they know how powerful these things are because they've seen it work long before, a long time ago, and in many occurrences all over the world at that time. Na kapag pala i-feed mo tong maling impormasyon na to, bigyan mo ng pwede mong i-incite yung mga tao sa isang galit. In fact, if you will read the very first document attributed to the Katipuneros, yung kanilang kasaysayan, CASAY, it's available online and that is also recognized by Spain and by our academe as the first document that the Katipuneros produced, and it's something like their constitution. They outline all their issues against Spain. All motherhood statements, pare, and not a single issue out of the many issues, not a single issue against the church or the pride.
That is Jacinto, Emilio
No,
Jacinto.
this is the Katipunan, like their constitution, and
Right.
they cannot even attribute it to anyone. Even the Katipuneros do not know who wrote that.
Itong
Parang
sinasabi
group
ng komentarista,
Huh.
ayan na naman, ayan na naman yung conspiracy theory na since the age of Jacques de Molay.
It was cognition of power because they were Masons. That is probably very influential to all of these things because the Masons were responsible for the removal of church clout over the law of Spain. Okay? Yes. Yes, inayos namin yung audio. Kaya kami natagalan. Mga 30 minutes before this, nag-ayos kami ni Attorney Ahmed ng mga audio namin.
Sabi ni Shero Lee,
Hmm.
si Emilio Jacinto daw was the one of the greatest fake news peddlers in our history.
Okay. Another thing. This one I'm not so sure. This one I'm not so sure. Ha? The word propaganda. Who invented that word? Uh, it became part of literature when the church made a an institution, the propagation of the faith, yung hanggang ngayon buhay pa yan, di ba? Attorney Ahmed, yung parang commission on the propagation of the church, of the faith. So yung
Mm.
propagation na part, sa translation yan is propagation, propaganda. So dyan yan
Yeah,
unang ginamit.
yeah.
And since that time, it was always used in the sense that it is in the propagation of faith, propagation of religious teachings. So propaganda was
Began with the
used.
church.
No, it was used for that to mean those things, mga teaching, propagation of church teachings, but not political things. The only time it became part of uh, ano tawag dyan?
Lexicon.
Yon, was sometime in 1920s. So to call themselves the propaganda movement in 1898,
Oo nga, no? That's weird. That's weird. Oo
maybe
nga. Weird.
someone from the 1930s thought
Right,
of it
right.
and made
Oo
them
nga.
the propaganda movement.
That's a good catch. That's a good catch. I like that. I like that. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
we can investigate this. Alam mo, when you start questioning things, kasi and the thing that you're questioning is a perfect lie, it all breaks down eh.
Mm, mm.
And
Just
I
find
know,
the lynch key.
find one thing that doesn't sound right, and then it will all para siyang yung sako na binubuksan mo. There are facts in our history which are true, but the reasons are not, as they
Yeah,
are
yeah.
taught by our and they are so afraid that we will change these things because of our historical revisionism. Hindi, okay, lahat po ng newspaper kahit panahon pa nila Rizal at Bonifacio ay propaganda at biased. Hanggang sa ngayon, lahat naman ng newspaper ay biased at propagandist ang nature. But yun nga, ito yung punto, no? Meron silang ibang term during those times eh. Yung uh, agitprop,
Mm.
no? Yung agitprop, agitation. Yeah. So yung meron sila ibang term during those times and not propaganda because propaganda was used for religious spreading of religious teachings. Totoo kaya na ang gumbursa daw ang dahilan ng yun na nga yung sinasabi natin dito eh. The
Oh,
Gumbursa were killed.
ang sabi kasi the inspiration of Jose Rizal to
Oh,
join the revolt against the Spaniards were the
oh.
Gumburza.
Okay,
Sila yung
fine.
ano, sila
Then why
yung
didn't he join the revolt?
kaya nga why didn't he?
Oh.
'Di ba?
So if Rizal
Tatlo
was
na
so
nga yung pinatay.
oh, di ba hindi ka
'Di
ba
ba?
nagtataka doon? Rizal was a real person. Rizal wrote those things. But if you say that he was inspired to revolt, and then when he was asked to join them in the revolution, he refused how many times? Pinuntahan
Yeah.
pa sila sa dapitan. So the
Pinuntahan pa nga siya ni
actions,
Mabini, 'di ba? Si
oh,
Mabini nakipag-usap sa kanya,
di
hindi
ba,
na
di ba?
mahihirapan na nga maglakad yung mama eh.
Alam nyo, our history is all full of inconsistencies na hindi mo ma-explain kapag tiningnan mo na siya ng and then itahi mo siya with world history, it no longer
Lalo na.
means anything.
Kasi 'di ba
So,
yung revolution natin sa Pilipinas coincided what was going on in Mexico. In fact, I think we happened before Mexico, and we were one of their inspirations in their own revolt.
okay, I'm interested about this quote ni ano no. Who is this Franklin Jones and what time period is he talking about?
What is this? Where?
I'm actually interested,
Franklin.
Hazel. If you can tell us when was this made? When was this comment made? No, that it was historians who changed the course of history, because I believe that maybe part of that strategy made by those people in 100 years, 100 years back, yung mga sinasabi ko sa'yo, the names are root. Uh, in fact, I was looking at ano here, one article published dito sa, ano ba itong paborito mo, attorney Ahmed?
Na
Si,
official gazette.
yung ano, JSTOR. So there is one,
Jay.
ano yeah. There's one article here of only 8 pages, and he names 8 people. Okay, these are the names of the people that he said you will no longer recall. Elijah Root, Bernard Baruch, John McCloy, Clark Clifford, and David Rockefeller. So David Rockefeller you may remember, but all of the rest you don't. You don't
Who
even
are
know.
those people? Who
I
are those
only know
people?
of one there. I only know of one there. Yan si Elijah Root. Elijah Root, if you will look him up, is a recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize in 1912
For doing
for
what?
for, for shaping the world that we know now. And you don't remember these people.
Yeah,
And
we don't know him.
yeah, look him up. Because siya din yung sinasabi ni Blount na responsable na kung paano tayo kinonolize ng Amerika and what for. This man has been mentioned by Blount many times in the book as the man responsible for this setup that we have.
Ito pala si Blount
El,
para din siyang si Dan Brown ganyan.
hindi,
Conspiracy
hindi.
theory.
Hindi. Actually, he was just, ano siya nabanas ng kanilang sariling sistema because his story is like this. He was in Samar sometime in the 1920s. He was there to magvista, maghearing as a judge.
Mm.
And there was an attack in the town near Tacloban by
Mm.
a rebel, no, not rebel, but cult ng mga Pilipino called the Pulahan,
Mm.
whose tradition we are not taught about was to kill anyone in their path who does
Mm.
not join them. And for you to join them, you must kill your father or your mother or your family member or your neighbor para ma-prove mo na talagang sasali ka sa kanilang prementado na nangyari.
Cult.
And
Oh.
it was a town by town killing. And they were running until they reached a town where there was a camp of the US Army.
Mm. Mm.
Okay? And in that town, he was communicating with the Governor General in Manila na this is happening here. Mobilize the
The army.
military. Bawal. Hindi pwedeng gawin kasi magkakaroon ng election sa Amerika. Okay? Pa-type naman ng name. Okay, I will type it later, ha. So, yung pulahan na na nag umatake ng mga parang raid ng mga towns in Samar. Description ni Blount was they hung villagers in the flagpole right in front of the US garrison, and the American army was just looking. Okay, they were just watching. And itong judge na Amerikano na banas siya sa kanyang nakita. So much so na nag-resign siya, umuwi ng Amerika at sinulat niya yung kanyang buong experience at lahat ng kanyang alam bilang judge, bilang abogado, at bilang dating sundalo. Noong 1898 mismo, yung unang-unang batch ng sundalo na pinadala to uh, invade Manila. So the name is, si Attorney Ahmed lang kasi yung makaka-chat eh. I will chat it to him and then he will post it. So the name of that author is Blount, and his work, yung kanyang libro, which we already posted the other night, uh, James Blount. James Blount. Okay, this is an American guy, and he will tell you in his book so many things you do not know, and I didn't know, and surprisingly, they were enlightening. Na he was saying na wala namang problema yun sila Aguinaldo. They had a system in place to run their government. Why did we have to take it away from them? In fact, when the Prince of Russia was here, and Russia at that time was a very, very strong and influential power in Europe, the Prince of Russia was here as a guest of the new Philippine government. Between the time na napaalis yung mga Kastila and the time na nagsimula yung Philippine-American War, there was a prince from Russia here who was very impressed about the preparedness of the Filipino system of administration, at least in Luzon, na kung saan napadpad sila Aguinaldo, and he was forced to go up until Baguio, di ba? Napanood niyo yan sa palabas ni sino to? The Boy General. Okay? So yun. Uh, I will ask Ahmed to post those and things. Right? James Blunt, yan, there. Bakit ako nagko-comment yan? Ako ba yan? How am I doing that? Or baka si Attorney Ahmed yung nagsusulat nito?
Oh, ako yan,
Anyway.
ako yan. Ako
Ayan.
yan, ako
Ikaw
yan.
ba yan? Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Kasi
When
admin
I
ka rin
type-
doon sa site. Oo.
When I type,
Yeah, yeah.
all of the
Nagulat lang ako. Wala, ba't ako nagsusulat dyan?
all of the output will come out as yeah, continue.
Yes, yes.
Meron
Okay,
na
so,
akong video na ginagawa dito.
yeah, so as I was saying, no, Blount was exposing the not really the evils, but the uselessness and the failure of the American occupation. Na parang ang ano niya is, why are we taking it away from these people? They have the capacity, they have the intellectual skills to run their own country. They can be made independent. So Manuel Quezon used Blount in his speech, as in may acknowledgement daw yan mismo. No more Attorney Trixie. No, hindi yan no more si Attorney Trixie. Attorney Trixie is just there. We will find, ano yun, ma'am, ang pangit talaga ng mata ko ngayon. I cannot read. Ano? Sir JP. Okay. Sa Attorney Trixie, siyempre, pagbigyan natin, mahirap yung una, maging press secretary bilang tagapagsalita. But over and above that, she has to run the administrative duties also of that function. Alam niyo ba kung anong nasa likod pa niyan? Overseeing the
PIA.
PTV, the PIA, the press
Philippine News Agency.
yung mga press natin ng mga luma, yung mga printing office, all of those things have administrative matters to attend to at the same time.
Yeah. Hindi lang yan ang trabaho niya na
Spirit ni Pigapetta ang nagsusulat. No, actually, gusto ko ngang makahanap ng translation ng sulat ni Pigafetta kasi wala pa ako nakikitang language na naiintindihan ko ng sulat ni Pigafetta. Si Morga, hanggang doon lang ang may English translation. Atrocities of Murica. Ano yan? What does it mean? Okay. If Blount also makes a very good account of the battles of Budbadjao and the battles of Budbagsak, where he outlined there the machinations of the Americans to make Muslims fight against Muslims. And that was in 1915, the last battle that ended the Philippine-American War. So, yun, in between those times, until our independence, yan yung tanong. How did the Filipino leadership or the influential people at the time na kayo yung pagmamanahan ng mga Amerikano when we were given independence, plan the entire thing of creating this national identity. Di ba? There's a need. So when there's a need, there must be a solution. So imposible para sa akin na walang gumawa ng plano about simplifying the question of Philippine history by making it up. And now that holy book of our Philippine history has been handed down from generation to generation, and we have a lot of academe and ourselves to defend it. Be true. But, yun na nga. Thank you. Sino to? Nilo Layog. Okay. We want to defend it to our teeth na tama to, ito yung totoo. Kaya tayo hindi na makakapag-isip backwards eh. Wala tayong foundation sa ating pagiging Pilipino. Dahil inakusahan natin yung mga Amerikano na binago yung ating kasaysayan. In fact, not. Kasi they obviously did not have time to plan out how to lie in their own report to Congress of the United States. And why would they lie to the United States Congress about what they see here?
Ano
About
tong
who we are.
sinasabi niya, no? Uncle Royce?
Uncle Royce, nandiyan ba siya?
Oh. Ayun, no?
Marites. Okay. In fact, our history is Marites. I will now bet my ass on it.
Oh, yan. Yan ang gusto ko malaman.
Because I now see an actual US document made by the military describing the priests as very, very intellectual and the priests from Spain as a different level of discipline and morality and everything. So this whole shit about privilege, it's an invention in the 30s when we were about to be given independence, when the word propaganda already existed. Gaano mag-cascade po yung mga information? Okay. I'm really thinking of I cannot do this alone. No? We really have to we really have, that's why
To
I'm telling you
discuss
this. We really
Oo.
have to open up this issue because I'm very very I'm not going to keep secret kung ano mga sources na pwede natin gamitin. No. In fact, there are a lot of sources available now online na hindi na natin kayang puntahan sa mga library. Hanapin lang natin yung subject matters. Pero you can begin with this. Yung outline ng Spanish history, yung specific dates and times of transitions of government between royalty and that parliament na gusto nyong ipatupad sa atin will coincide with the major upheavals in our own history. Attorney Trixie has taken on a prodigious responsibility. Yes, mahirap yung kanyang ginagawa. Sa totoo lang, hindi madali yan. In fact, sabi ko nga kay Attorney Ahmed, among the different secretaries, yan yung pinaka madugo sa oras. Di ba? Attorney?
Yep. Totoo yan. Hindi na
Because
nga kami
ang media,
nagsisama. Magkatabi lang kami dito ng bahay.
hindi natutulog ang balita. My friend who is of Spanish ancestry says a lot of our Spanish history was twisted by the US. This one I am now even doubting. It was twisted, but not by the US. I think, or maybe not at the beginning. Maybe in the with the guidance of the US, the Filipinos twisted it.
Mm. To serve
Correct?
their own interests, no? Yung
No, to
mga
serve the purpose of preparing our independence,
independence,
preparing
no?
us for our own independence.
Mm. Kasi
Okay,
wala
because
tayong history na atin eh. No?
and how can you become a nation that will be accepted by the if you are not a unified people?
Yan yung nangyayari sa Russia at saka Ukraine. Their history is intertwined, but now pinag-aaway sila ng ng NATO. Hindi lang ng most of Europe and including the Americans. So again, we see the Americans in a chaotic situation in which they don't even appear, but their hand is very clear, di ba?
Hmm.
Meron silang kinalaman dyan pero wala sila dyan sa gulo.
Hmm? Hmm? You open it. You open it. Okay.
Patingin nga yan kay Erin. Matagal ko nang hindi
Oh,
nakikita yung bata.
halika. Titingin daw sila sa'yo.
Hello, Erin. Magpakita ko sa amin. Hi.
My beautiful daughter. Okay. Sir JP, my friend in Spanish. Yeah, yeah. No. In fact, one thing I do not know if this is part of the Treaty of Paris. Okay. Na hindi ko maintindihan is why did Spain keep silent about all of these things, all of these years, never even tried to correct us or to at least justify na hindi yan totoo ha. Okay, first thing that you cannot uh, reconcile is this. The king had a very, very special instruction for the Philippines.
Yep.
And this
I
subsisted
got
for
it.
so many years.
Mm.
Only people whose character he agrees were allowed to travel to the Philippines or to stay here. These are for civilians, ha?
Mm. Mm.
So pipiliin yung kanilang mismong pagkatao na kailangan mabuting tao ka para payagan kita na tumira doon. Kung yan ang requirement para sa mga ordinaryong citizens, what is the requirement for priests?
Mm.
So much higher.
Yes.
Now
So,
why
malamang matitino yung mga nakarating dito ng mga pare.
and why would they be painted now as Damaso?
Mm.
Yes, Pinoy paparazzi. Very, very beautiful girl. Okay. So, as long as we do not understand our own history, and isang question ko, attorney, I hope you can help me on this because I remember si Gavin was discussing this about our own development of Philippine law.
Mm.
Were we given Spanish citizenship?
No.
Or really?
Sabi niya, I don't know, I don't remember him saying it. But
Hmm.
para sa akin, when he was talking about that, because he also talked about that in our class.
Mhm.
Yung klase namin ni JP is about 4 years apart, di ba? Yung
Ah,
first year
ah,
ako
ah.
sa UP Law, yung class natin sa UP Law is 4 years apart.
But Agabi never changes. He's like,
Kaya pareho tayo ng lecture.
mm,
Ah, ang sagot ko doon
yung,
sa tanong niya is na I think that we were a special island owned by the King of Spain. Uh,
yes.
we were owned by the King of Spain. So itong islands of the Philippines, Islas uh, Filipinas, ay hindi ito siya territory ng Spain. Ito ay
Aha.
private island, private vacation property ng
But the
King
king
of
never
Spain.
came here.
He never came here, but
Mm.
he treated the Philippines as a special property. Hindi tayo parang
Why?
lupain lang na pwedeng puntahan ng mga ibang bansa. Tayo ay parang
Yes.
private island ng King of Spain.
And why are we so special? Because the King of Spain believes that what his kingdom was doing here was evangelization. He was doing his acts of good work that will benefit his religion, which is number one in ano. He wanted this to be his present to God.
Yes.
That is how important we were to the King of Spain, and one of them even became a saint, Saint Ferdinand. Okay, they were so engrossed into Catholicism and about God and about religion,
And the
so much so
Philippines.
that itong Pilipinas, dahil malayo yan, walang impluensya yung iba, ako lang, mga tao dyan, gagawin ko yung mag-alay. But, okay, all of those things had to change in 1800 when they had these people coming now with the strange tanggalin natin yung mga pare dito. Bakit masyado malakas yung kanilang impluensya sa ating hari? Maggawa tayo ng sarili nating constitution, magtayo tayo ng parlamentaryo, and that is where all things went down the drain. It started in 1800 when they started making a constitution in 1812. Sipin nyo ha, when they started making a parliament, from 1812 to 1876, they had 7 constitutions. Sige, simulan yung wasakin yung ating konstitusyon na hindi pa na nga natin napagana na maayos, hindi pa nga natin naintindihan yung mga words na nandun. Patay na tayo niyan. Erin, can you give me water? Okay, Jing. Yon. So, when the downfall of Spain happened, yes, I always wonder when the downfall of Spain happened. Isabella was in the middle of that downfall. The first one that started it was the king in 1812, where he flip-flopped between, hindi, si Napoleon ang nagsimula niya. Napoleon Bonaparte. In-invade niya yung Spain. Nag-away sila, yung magtatay nag-away, sabi niya, alika dito, punta kayo dito sa France kasi pagbabatiin ko kayong dalawa. Pagdating nila sa France, kinulong sila ni Napoleon, tinayo niya yung kanyang kapatid bilang King of Spain. That is when the downfall of Spain started. So, Attorney Ahmed.
Ah. Teka lang, umiinom ako
Ah,
tubig.
yeah. Ganito. Ang ating mga guests ay hindi ko alam kung gising pa to sila, no? Pero, I think,
Naantok na ako.
inaantok na siya ako rin. I think you are nakutaw ang inyong libog gamay
Na-pick
karon.
na yung ano, yung iyong curiosity. Oh,
But
na-pick na.
they were asking kanina kasi Attorney Ahmed for sources, no? I will type here, and then you
Okay.
can kasi I can. So, yung
Before we
una
go,
was
before we go.
okay, James Blunt, history of si James Blunt. Wag na yan si James Blunt, alam niyo na yan eh. But let's list those names of peoples that are attributed to all of these changes that we are not necessarily just about the Philippines. Ito si Elijah Root. So, this guy, si Elijah Root, is one of the most brilliant master planners of our own history now. Itong iba nito, hindi ko rin pa sila kilala. Hahanapin ko rin to kasi I just found them. But this guy listed them all. Bernard. Baruch. Can you close that? Why are they so ba? Ang aking mga aso ay nagigising.
Sino ba? Bernard.
Baruch, John McCoy. Okay, itong isa si Rockefeller, no? Si David Rockefeller. I heard one. This is not a story because it is in the records that when sino to si McKinley signed or wrote or finished writing or put into the envelope his instructions for General Merritt before sailing to the Philippines. At si General Merritt yung unang commander dito ng land forces. Yung instructions of the president to the commanding general of the and that's part of our history, di ba? Kasi ginamit nila yung parang part of the law na nung pinirmahan niya at binigay niya to be delivered to General Merritt, David Rockefeller was there. Okay, so these names, Attorney Ahmed, no? Maybe we can flash them so that
Yeah,
our
it's already there.
audience, okay, yeah, you can start finding out about these people, but you will see these people. There were people back in 1800 or 1890s who planned out a future na walang giyera or prosperous para sa sa
Business,
mga mundo.
trade.
Oh, sa mundo. These were good things actually. Huh? They were not planning it for themselves. They were planning for better world na hindi kailangan magyera araw-araw.
Mm.
And that is what we have now. Bisaya din ba? Oh, sus. Paskang Bisaya kayo
Yeah,
day.
kaya
Day.
natandirect. Pati na si
Paano ka,
Uncle Royce ko,
basta bright gani, Bisaya guide na.
alangan,
Huh?
natural.
Kailangan. Oh. Nesa, Texas po ako ngayon. Nabasa ko lang po ang pangalan pa lang ng the New Philippines, Texas noon. Okay. Do you know that, bukas na lang yan. Do you know that the Philippines was so rich when we were invaded by the Americans in 1898? And how rich? Sige, next topic natin yan. How rich was
Bukas,
the Philippines? O
bukas, bukas.
gaano ba kayaman ang Pilipinas when they were in numbers? Okay, let's talk about the Philippine economy in numbers tomorrow. Handa tayo ng attorney, para kikita nila yung mga numero sa no? Gawan natin
Oh,
ng
tama. Graphic,
so
graphic.
yeah, let's talk about stuff that pertain to our situation when we were invaded. Kung talaga ba yung tayo ay mga karumaldumal na nilalang na pinabayaan ng
Oo.
mga aping mga Kastila.
Kailangan kita mga Bisaya, nya ang uban pod ka ng dili, maski dili Bisaya, mga mangtas tatanan.
Correct.
Mangtas.
One person here is now appreciating the Spanish architecture. The Philippines in the 1700s was considered as yung ating nasa ating national anthem na Perlas ka ng Silanganan, that pertains to our stature in the 1700s.
Yeah.
When they compare us to any other European or American country in those times, we were the best. We were Shangri-La. And you know what? Did Spain make money here?
Mm,
Tomorrow we will discuss that. Did Spain
tomorrow,
make money
tomorrow.
here? Yes. Did Spain make money here? Okay.
Bukas na lang
Oh,
uli ha. Bukas na lang
so,
uli.
teka.
Antod,
Okay lang ha? Bukas. Balikan natin yung topic
gagawa
na
ko
yan.
ng
Gawa kami
gagawa
ni,
ko.
ni Atty.
Gagawa tayo ng graphic.
Let's try to figure or reimagine what the Philippines was when the Americans came. Bisdak! So, kabalo ka, ang Cebu, Cebu is a very prominent part of this story, and Iloilo. Uh, so yun, let's talk about our
Si Uncle JP. Nung tambay pa lang kaming lahat doon sa Katipunan, sa
oh,
isang maliit na apartment, ay
oh,
nagtuturo na to siya ng history.
yes,
Sa
sa
mga high
UP,
school student sa UPIS.
IS. And because of that experience, attorney, I was forced to relearn, and then I saw, the hell, I don't know anything. Ano ituturo ko sa mga batang to? And from then on, oh my God, ang dami pala nating
Okay,
kailangan
ugma pohon ha,
i-unlearn.
ugma pohon.
Ugma
Bukas,
po,
bukas.
hulat ni ugma, okay.
Kita tayo bukas uli.
Share nyo
Itong
naman,
oras,
share nyo naman. Tsaka,
i-share nyo
stars,
para
stars.
dumami tayo.
Bukas, let's talk about the Philippine economy. May topic tayo, ha? Good night, mga
Yung
bisdak,
Philippine
mga,
ancient economy.
we need to see. Diba? Sabi, if you walk, you will see. Bye-bye. Good night. Royce Castro, malupit. Okay, bye. Huwag ka nang, huwag mo nang
Sabihin
sobrang.
natin yan si Royce. Isali
Oh,
natin si
sama.
Royce.
Yeah,
Oo,
yan
para
yung
makita
kaya.
rin siya.
This is
Alright,
already,
good night,
okay, good night,
everyone.
good night. Extra. Maestro.
Extra, extra, maestro. Where is that? Extra.